Okay, thank you all for putting your information in the chat. If you've come on since I talked last, please put your information about who you are and who you're with in the chat. And I am actually going to go ahead to be respectful of time because I know we've got a lot to cover today to go ahead and get us started. I'm Julie Reynolds and I'm going to tap now. Miranda and I are working out our signals on how we move along. Miranda Schultz, who is joining us, is our executive producer. She doesn't like her face to be seen, so she will not see her. But I am Julie Reynolds. I work at the University of Missouri, Kansas City Institute for Human Development, and we are Missouri's University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities. Miranda's on the struggle bus a little bit next door here to the, there we go. So that's me. If you guys have been on before, you know all these things, but I do have a mom with dementia, and I've been working in this field mostly with people with developmental disabilities for about 35 years. I did start when I was like 10 because I am much younger than I look. So, all right. So I wanted to start out with what our objectives are. And you guys that have been here before, talk a little bit about what the Missouri No Wrong Door Project is, which is what is sponsoring our monthly workshops. Talk about how Charting the Life course can help for planning around the kitchen stuff. Learn about some technology that everyone can use in the kitchen. And I also wanted to note that you could call the kitchen a galley, a canteen, a cookhouse, or my all-time favorite, a scullery. And then we'll talk a little bit about what's going on locally. So the first thing I want to talk about, because I love technology, and there's two things that I love most. So the best thing, and this was invented here in Kansas City, is for technology, the crock pot. Now, this is an old looking crock pot, but the rival crock pot is the best thing since something else was invented in Missouri, sliced bread. So those are two great technology items because you can throw all your food in the crock pot and it miraculously cooks things. And you don't need any kind of tools just to have sliced bread. So sliced bread, if you don't know this, was invented in Chillicothe, Missouri. I just learned that recently. So now you have had your history lesson about assistive technology. So today we are going to be focusing really around what you can do in the kitchen, but it really covers all of the life domains we talk about with individuals, with everyone. Really our daily life and employment, you've got to be able, if you're going to go off to work or go off and do things or make your lunch, you might need some help in the kitchen. You know, kind of your community living. What are you doing in your home? Are there things you need in your kitchen so you can make your sandwich to come to work? It's around social and spirituality. So I really want to have, social contact and have people over for dinner and those kind of things, but I struggle with certain things with cooking. So what can help me with that? It's also learning about how you live a healthy and well life, because you've got to be able to, well, you don't have to be able to cook to live a healthy and well life. You do have to be able to order food though, but really talking about all the things that we need to kind of do that. The executive producer is a little off today, so I apologize. Safety and security also come in that, as we want people to eat safely and know, how to prepare food so it is safe. And then really advocating for yourself and making your choices of what you want to eat and what you get to eat, and then how you get that food and how you prepare that food and all the kitchen things. So basically, I think if you haven't been on before, we are a part of the Missouri No Wrong Door. And really what our goal is to really support people, individuals, caregivers, families, to kind of help them get good information about their different options for their good life, how they enter into long-term services and supports, and really trying to help people find sort of that, as we say, a no wrong door. So what are the doors you come in to get into the long-term services and support system? And really, what can we do to make those doors much more friendly? So it's not like a revolving door where you go around and around in circles. It's really that door you get in. And if the person at the reception desk can't help you in that door, they know exactly what door to send you to. So that's really kind of what we're all about. And then Charting the Life course, really what we are here to do and what we have been doing for years is really trying to drive that transformational change as opposed to transactional change, which is sort of those smaller nuggets of things, but how do we drive the system to be better for people and for families in our world? We've got some cool icons that a lot of you have seen that you saw in those life domains I showed earlier to kind of really illustrate what each of those life domains are and where we are in that and what we do in those. I'm going to talk about a couple of tools and strategies that you can use And then really we've got a network not only all across Missouri that really have adopted the Charting the Life course framework and the philosophy and some of the tools to help people live their good life. So see, I'm going to jump right into a tool. So we're going to do two things I want to talk about real quick. So we have what we call the trajectory. This is a very simple trajectory. And I know you guys who've been on before have seen some of these before, but I made them really big today. So for my vision for my good life around the kitchen, I really, really want to have people over and make a meal for them. Whether they want to eat my food or not, I want them to come over. I also, when I'm eating on my own, I don't want to have people helping me. So I want to be able to kind of eat independently, whether people are over or whether I'm eating by myself. So those are kind of my visions for what I want from this sort of like, how do I do this in the kitchen? What I really don't want just overall for my life is to be isolated. So in order to avoid that and not have that happen, I want to have those people over. And I feel like maybe the only way I can get them to my house is to cook for them. And then I don't want to not be able to actually do my cooking and my cleanup. So those are things that are important to me. And you'll see I left down at the bottom, I talked about why I might not be able to get to my good life is maybe I can't hold on to things, or maybe I can't, and this is very true, I can't see a recipe. So if you give me out a regular old recipe book, I can't read that, it's too small. If you've been on here before, you know I can't see. Told you guys that. Now, what I've left out here at the very top is really like, how do I get to my good life? And that's what I'm going to talk about here in a second with the star. And then I'm going to throw it over to Scout to talk about all the things that will help me get to whatever my good life is up here around the kitchen. And this is a great tool if you are just working with somebody, or if you're an individual trying to figure out what you want and need. It very much breaks down for you in a very simple way. Like, what is it that's going to lead me to my good life, either overall for my whole life, which is very overwhelming, or kind of just taking a small ear of the elephant and saying, here's what I really want for my kitchen, and here's kind of what's kind of preventing me from getting there. So the next thing I really kind of want to show you is our integrated support star. You'll see there's a giant question mark, but it's all about Scout. So this really talks about, what are my personal strengths and assets? So I kind of did this for help in the kitchen. So I'm very resilient, and I'm willing to try anything, which sometimes is not a good thing, but I'm going to feel like it's a strength. And I will definitely ask for help, but that is really after I've tried everything. And it's like, I guess I need some help. So that's really a place when you're working with people. What are people's strengths and assets that they can bring to any small thing, big thing, anything in their life? And then what relationships do I have? And this is all me because I don't have grandkids or kids, but I just put that there. So who are your relationships? And these might be the people you want to have over to have the meal, your grandkids, your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers. So I want to cook for them and not be isolated. And then kind of what is my community that's going to help me with the things that I want? You've got grocery stores, DoorDash that will actually bring food to your house and put it on your stoop. You can actually say, put it on my stoop. I don't think they call it a stoop, or ring the doorbell. Also, I just added a bingo group because they'll give you snacks when you're there, and then going out to a restaurant. Last on this is really, what are the ways I can have, like, what if I need food in the kitchen, or some of those ways that I'm eligible for. So, if you're eligible, there's Meals on Wheels. They will also bring food right to your house. For those of you out there in the area agencies on aging, that is one thing I know you guys are great at and do, and had some struggles during the pandemic about how you're going to get people, their Meals on Wheels during a pandemic. There's also eligibility things like food stamps, and for people with kids, women, infants, and children. So there's always also those paid supports that you can utilize to help get your kind of kitchen needs met. So now this is what y'all came for. You did not come to hear me talk. Up here, I've put a question mark under technology. So what do I need? How do I get my help in the kitchen around technology? So I'm going to throw it over to Scout, and he's going to introduce himself, and we're going to hope our executive producer kind of gets these slides moving.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I am Scout, and like it's been said before, if you've been here before, you've probably seen this silly slide of me. I do have some aging parents that help me along in my journey, but I also have years of experience working in independent living centers and working with AT. All right. Okay. we can move on. Okay, so I'm really excited to talk about all the kitchen stuff. I'm also excited because I got to put in all the kitchen stuff, and my boss really dislikes when I use the word stuff instead of AT, but here it is, posted up for everybody to see. All right, so there's so many tools that are available in food, you know, all the parts of making food. So we are going to look at lots of things. So whether you're making food out of, or they're making dinner out of fresh vegetables or opening a can of soup, we're just going to look at a variety of tools. We'll kind of have some categories of shopping, recipes, meal prep, cooking, eating, and if there's time, we'll even talk about cleanup. So we won't cover everything, but a good variety. Okay, so let's, you know, Julie mentioned some online shopping. It has really, we had a little discussion beforehand, really a huge benefit for people, especially folks who don't drive, you know, pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, and now wherever we are now. It's just a great option to shop online and to have your food either brought to your stoop or your doorstep, or be able to send somebody to pick up the exact things you want. You know, plenty of stores are doing this, Walmart and Aldi. Instacart will go to a variety of stores for you, personal shoppers. There's just all kinds of options with this that really, I think, has been opened up to many more people than used this previously. Julie, do you have anything to add to that one? Nope. Okay. So there are also a number of tools that can help with cooking. So I put in here websites like Accessible Chef, and what this does is it really breaks down a recipe into kind of manageable bite-sized chunks. It lays out all the pieces you're going to need with photos, step-by-step instructions with more photos, and it really kind of takes you through if reading a recipe is a challenge. And then, of course, there are the smart home devices like the Echo Show or Dot that they can save recipes, they can look up recipes, they can tell you the next step in a recipe. And if you have that show, then it also can have that display that will offer visuals. All right, and then I've put up the Pen Friend. So the Pen Friend is created for folks with visual impairments. I'm actually going to turn mine on and show you. So there are magnetic dots or stickers that you can record on, and then all you have to do is touch the device to the, I'm using one of the magnetic dots. And if you could hear that, I've recorded Mom's Homemade Pickles. So this magnet would go on top of the mason jar filled with Mom's Homemade Pickles, which I have at my house. And that way you would know if you've got 6 mason jars or 6 cans, which one is which. It's handy. There's also, I've got a little shaker here. And this is salt, but if you have shakers that feel the same and they're salt and pepper, you can use things like the Pen Friend to determine which is which. You can record up to an hour, so you could actually record a whole recipe, step-by-step instructions on the Pen Friend. So that's just another kind of interesting tool, but we can move on to the next slide. All right, so let's talk about shopping. I love the one size almost fits all cut resistant glove You can kind of, do various things with it and pretend you're a famous dancer. But as you're chopping, if you're wearing this cut resistant glove, it will protect your hands. There are other things to protect your hands, which I actually like even more. The picture in the middle is a little device called a safe slice. And you just put your fingers in it. I don't have one to show. You put your fingers in it and it protects them from your knife cuts. It actually works quite well. The silver ones at the top right are the same. You put it over one finger and then it protects you from knife cuts, which is fantastic. And then there are the cake decorating tips. I mean, that's what they look like to me. So you're supposed to put those on the tips of your fingers to protect them. They feel a little silly, but they will also protect you from knife cuts. So kind of interesting things to make everybody kind of successful with chopping. Then down in the left corner, I have a picture of some really flimsy cutting boards. But the reason I have those is because there's black and white cutting boards. You can also buy a cutting board that has black on one side and white on another. So again, if you have vision loss, or if you have just any kind of struggle taking in information, if you're cutting cauliflower, you might not want to put that on a white cutting board. You might want to put that on a black cutting board, and then you can see absolutely a little more clearly what you're doing. You're chopping the vegetable, but it stands out from the background. And likewise, if you're cutting something dark, you would want to put that on the dark side, on the light side of the cutting board. I mean, so just using that contrast to really help be successful with chopping. There are different kinds of knives. There are many different kinds of knives. This T-handled rocker knife is one example of a different kind of knife. I've also got a L-shaped knife here in my hand. There's just a variety of knives to be successful. And then the last thing on this page is the cutting board. And if you can see, it's kind of hard to see, but there are two prongs sticking out of this. They are sharp, basically nails that come up through the cutting board. Sounds like a hazard, but think about if you're chopping and maybe you have use of one hand, you could pop your, whether it's a carrot or a steak or something, you can pop it on there and those prongs will hold it in place while you cut. It also has some bumpers on the back, which can be used. You can, move your things over there. That also works as a spreader. So if you have use of one hand and put a piece of bread there, then you can spread whatever you like on it without moving your bread all across the counter, because that will hold it in place as you spread. All right. If you have questions, throw them in the chat. So that's for chopping. And now let's talk about opening some things. So if soup is what's for dinner, a lot of the soups have the pull tabs, and the device farthest to the left is a kind of a ring pull tab opener, which will just roll back across the can as it opens the soup. For some people, it's really hard to grab that little tab and to pull. So that is exactly what this one is designed for. It will help with some other things, but it is basically designed for those ring pull tab kind of cans. The black one has teeth on the side, so it is for opening jars. They make two styles of this. This one would be used by someone with grip issues. It has a nice comfort grip handle, but you do need two hands to use it. They also make one without the handle with a couple of holes in it so you can mount it underneath a cabinet. And then once it's mounted, it would just take one hand to put your jar up there and twist it open. So that's another great option. The one on the bottom, I actually have two pictures of that, and it's called a jar key. It used to be called a jar pop. I love this device. It costs around $5, and all it does is breaks the seal of a jar. So, you know, for anybody out there, this is a handy device. I was actually just telling a coworker about a woman who got into an accident and had a brain injury, and it affected the mobility of her hands. Her sister would take her shopping, come home, open all her jars, and put them all in the refrigerator for her. You know, nice, but not exactly what she wanted. So this $5 device allowed her to open her jars when she was ready. You know, and it's just that little piece of independence that was great for her. Anyway, $5. The black and gray kind of monster of the page, oh, wait, I'm not quite done, is a jar opener that, like, if you want to do nothing, you set your jar in there, it will come down and do everything for you. You just put your jar in, take your open jar out. Some people love this. I had a woman who loved this device, would not have traded it for any other device under the sun. And then the one-handed can opener is also great. It's only about $25, and it will cut off the lid of your can just with the touch of a button. So, okay, now we can move on. All right. So let's talk about cooking now that we've opened everything, we've chopped everything. And of course, when we all go to cook dinner, we are probably just as happy as these two. I know every night I am. All right, let's look at our tools. All right. So I just put there's a variety up here. The first one is a kind of a double spatula. So it closes easily. And so this is really great for someone who you know, might be low vision, might be a variety of other reasons that, say, think about a burger, and if you're cooking a burger and you want to get it from the frying pan to your plate, well, you just slip it underneath it and then squeeze, and then you don't have to worry about it sliding off of your spatula because you have a lid on it, and it just moves it over to your plate. You let go, and there it is. So that's handy for a lot of different items, just transferring or even turning something over. If you're not confident flipping something over, you can just squeeze it and slowly turn it over and get it in the right spot. Don't recommend it for the first flip of your pancake. All right, so let's go to the tongs, the red tongs. Those are locking tongs. So a pair of tongs is great. You can use it for a lot of things, but this pair has a little red circle at the top that when you pull that out, it will lock the tongs closed. So that can be really helpful for a variety of different things. Again, if you're trying to move something of a greater distance, you can close on it and not drop it. So it's not always needed, but you don't always have to engage it. All right. So I love the little, these are salt and pepper shakers all the way to the top right. They're not shakers, they're grinders. So these are one-handed salt and pepper grinders. So again, you can buy pre-ground spices, but if you're somebody who likes to have your salt come in crystals and your pepper come in corns, then, and you have use of one hand, then you can have your own fresh ground salt and pepper. with something simple like this. Below it, this is something that was kind of new to me, but I thought it was very cool, it's a spice rack. It's quite large, but it's a spice rack that when you move the lever, it gives you a 1/4 teaspoon of the spice. So if you want a 1/2 teaspoon, you just do it twice. I like this for a lot of different reasons. You know, it's nice and simple, but also if you were simplifying recipes for somebody who used this, you could put, say, like 2 circles of you know, number 4, and they could know to get the mustard seed or whatever, you know, 2 times and then add it to their recipe. It is something that has a lot of, I think, capacity for folks who are just learning how to cook. So kind of an interesting one. There's a large handled spoon. So there are so many what kind of is termed comfort grip utensils. They're readily available. I find a good selection at Bed Bath and Beyond, but I mean, anywhere online you can buy them. And they really are so much easier to hold than a thin metal handle. And then I love these, there's all kinds of measuring spoons. There's measuring spoons that are specific for low vision. There's just all different kinds, but I really like these color-coded ones. I find them, you know, a really easy way to tell apart which is which. And again, you could use those if you're kind of coding recipes for somebody learning how to cook. So those are, I think I have more tools on the next slide. All right. I'm going to start with the timer, which is over on the right. So this is just a large print timer. So we have one that's on a stand, which is great. It's just super easy to see. You know, just high visual, high contrast. But they also make these, which I particularly love, that are magnetic, just a big magnetic square with a timer on it. So you just slap it on your fridge and it's right there. You don't knock it over. I find that one super great. Below that is a locking lid pot. So thinking if you're cooking pasta or boiling potatoes or even steaming vegetables, that lid, if you empty the water out, will stay in place once it's locked in. So there's not a lot of splashing of a lot of water going into a sink or something like that. It's just a little bit safer. Yes, somebody's putting in the chat that they use Alexa for a timer, and I think that is a super easy way. I do too, but I still love these timers. The circular thing in the middle is just I think it's called a flame tamer. It will help pots from boiling over. So again, if somebody is well, if you have a tendency to overboil, or but if somebody is learning to cook, this is like a safety feature that's really can be nice. The one above that is a little different. It is a pot stabilizer. So again, this would be used for somebody with use of one hand. Because say if you have something thick in a pot with a long handle, the pot would just spin around while you try to stir it. So this device, you know, hooks onto the edge of your stove. You put your handle in there, and it keeps that pot from spinning around if there's something thick in there while you stir it. All right, on the bottom there is an oven stick. Simple device to help you push in or pull out an oven rack. And these ones are purchased, the one in the picture. You can make your own. I have one here I'm kind of showing that's just made out of wood. It's just got the slot at the bottom that will pull the rack out, the slot at the top that will push the rack in. Especially good if you're using a wheelchair because it's hard to get over the door of the oven. Above that are some silicone oven rack guards. I really like the oven rack guards, and every time I've talked about them in a group, I usually have somebody hold up their arm and show me a burn. So I'm guessing if everybody had their camera on, maybe we'd have one burn in our audience. But they're made in cloth or silicone. They just snap on the edge of the oven rack, and they're heat resistant up to 500 degrees. The cloth ones are machine washable. The silicone ones you probably just throw in your dishwasher. I don't know. I like these. One of the downsides is then you have to put your items over them. Without them, things just slide right off the rack, especially with the silicone ones, they would catch. You would have to pull things over your oven rack guard. All right, let's see what else we have. There are some kind of higher tech devices that, well, I guess only two of these. The automatic stove device, there's a variety of these on the market. So they will turn off your stove, many of them after a set amount of time. Others will, use other methods to turn off. They're a wide range of pricing, but again, if you have somebody who wants to cook independently, and the other people in the house might be a little nervous for that person to cook quite independently, this kind of device can be helpful, because then that stove is going to be turned off after 30 minutes or whatever it is. And there's no chance of harm after that. They are only for electric stoves, not for gas stoves. In the middle is a pot stirrer. So again, if that's something, that task is difficult for whatever reason, so then you can clip on this device and it will stir your pot for you. How about that? Or if you really want to watch the game and don't want your chili to burn, you just get your stirrer and use it there. All kinds of different ways to cook with multiple family members. So this is a safe way for a child to be involved in the food prep area. And then I also really like the hands-free, or the either touchless or one-touch faucets. So they're marketed for like when your hands are very, very dirty or full, you can do these. But for folks with disabilities, they can be super helpful as well. All right, let's have a few more things. I hope I still have time. All right, doing okay. So let's get into the eating. So let's look at supports for digging into dinner. All right, so we'll start with the simple ones, the red plate. So this is obviously a divided plate. It does have a bit of grip on the bottom of it, so it's less likely to slide across the table. The high sides make it easier to get food onto your utensil for many individuals. Red is, these come in red or the kind of white off-white color. Red is often supposed to stimulate eating for people with like Alzheimer's or dementia, I think even Parkinson's, though I'm not positive on that. Below that is basically a piece of Dyson. It does come in different colors. Mine is blue. but it is just a very tacky material that will hold the plate in place. So it doesn't slide across the table for somebody maybe who has tremors or a variety or spasticity or something like that. There's also a comfort grip utensil being used. Okay, in the middle is a device called a meal lifter. There's not much to it. It's just plastic, but it holds a 9-inch plate, and really it all it does is raise up the plate closer to the person. But you think about somebody that may have tremors, or who may just for whatever reason lose their food frequently before it gets to their mouth. This is a simple, low-cost way, but also more dignified than putting dinner on a box, to keep that food going, more of the food going into the person's mouth. I don't know. I like this one. All right, but then we go to the coolest device by far on the page, but also the most expensive, is the Obi robotic feeder. So this thing is super slick. You turn it on, you train it to a location. So whether the person is up high or down low, how far out they are, you train the arm to come right to basically in front of the face, and it's switch activated. I don't have a picture with the switches plugged in, but you plug in 2 switches and you hit one switch, and after it turns on and bows to you, because it's a very polite robot, then the first switch will take it around location to location. So there's 4 pockets for food, and the second switch will, after you've selected the location, will scoop up a scoop, take it back to make sure there's no drips, and bring it forward. And then the person just has to lean in and take a bite of food. It's really cool. And of course, it's not for everyone, but for somebody who wants to be able to eat on their own, this device really allows that. If you can hit any switch, you can feed yourself with this. So I think I have one more of these. Yes, utensils. So it may appear that I have 2 sets of the same utensils, one in gray and one in blue, but I do not. The blue ones are what I called before the comfort grip utensils. You can buy these individually or you can buy them as a set. Really great for folks who just need a bigger grip on their utensil. On the left are weighted utensils. So for some people, utensils are so light that they're not really aware of what they've got in their hand. So that weight can really be helpful information that something is there that they kind of need to pay attention to. Also, for a slight tremor, a weighted utensil can be a good solution. And those also can be bought individually or as a set. In the middle, there is the foam grip. So you have your own utensils, don't want to buy a whole new set of utensils. So instead, you buy the foam grip, and it does come with different size holes. And then you just pop your own utensils into it, and there you have a large grip utensil. And then at the top, there is a gyroscopic spoon. So this is liftware, and this basically counteracts a mild to moderate tremor. So, and the spoon end will pop off, and you can put on a fork or a bigger spoon end, just different options. But so it just senses the tremor and counteracts it so that the food stays much more level and on the utensil. It's quite nice. All right, those are eating. All right, we even have time for cleanup. All right, let's look at our things real quick for cleanup. You know, the cart can help deliver the food. You're having your friends over. You don't want to drop your food on the way to the table because you've worked so hard to make it. So you know, put it in a cart. It doesn't have to be like this, but some kind of delivery system can be really helpful for folks who want to be involved in getting the food all the way to the table. Different scrubbers on the left-hand side. If you have limited grip, scrubbers with a strap across them might be all you need to do your cleanup. Or something that you can really feel, like the little hedgehog scrubber at the bottom. You can get your whole hand around that and scrub your pots. Or of course, in the middle, what you might see in a bar to get your dishes clean. But I mean, if you look at this one, you could even put your pots on there and push them around and really be able to clean all kinds of things with these. Put plates in between them, all kinds of, you know, get your dishes all clean. Or if you've got a dishwasher, I've never really been a huge fan of the circles that have dirty and clean, and you just flip them over. But I love this one that is a slider, so that for anyone, it's very apparent. There's no confusion. With the upside down ones, you can still read both words, and it could be confusing. But with this one, there's a slider, so you know if it's red, it's dirty, or you read the word, and if it's green, it's clean. So I think those are, I think that was a good solution for some. I think those are all my cleanup tools, but I think I still have 1 minute to get to my next slide because I have to put in home modifications. There's so many other things that can be done if you are remodeling or building a house. Pull out drawers so you're not reaching in. The gyroscopic spoon is liftware. Okay, sorry, it was a chat question. So reaching into a drawer or a cabinet can be hard, but with pull out drawers where you reach down, that can be super much easier for some people. The side opening oven. Okay, this is the genius. I mean, we all have to lean over the oven door, but if it opened to the side, you're right up next to your stuff. What a smart thing for some people. You can raise your dishwasher so it's not so hard on your back to lean that far over. You can leave clear space under a sink, especially good for knee and toe clearance for somebody using a wheelchair. Variable height counters, not just for very tall and shorter of stature, but also if you're again using a wheelchair or you just need to sit more often when you are doing your meal prep, you can have lower counters. Or you like to stand, you can have higher counters. The one touch or touchless faucets, pull down upper shelves from your cabinets. And yes, removing clutter from counters and floors is also, that one was added in. But really, when you're trying to work, you should have a good work area to make it safe.
Hey,
There's a
Scout.
million, yeah.
Shelley made me add that, her OT brain. She was like, people trip on rugs and stuff in the kitchen. There's stuff all over it. So I'll do a shout out to her for that one.
Absolutely, absolutely, around the whole house. But also when you're carrying things and you've made something, you're taking it over to you have to have that clear floor space. And I would add in task lighting. You have to have good enough lights to be able to see what you're doing when you're using knives and doing all the things that we do in the kitchen. So the little puck lights that can go right underneath your cabinets are fantastic. They have LED strips and all kinds.